Okay, I'm back. Now we're getting close to actually reloading. All the cases have been trimmed. I have a pretty good little pile of them here. So before you can reload, you have to set your machine up. And before we set the machine up, we're going to get some primers ready. Today we're using CCI small rifle primers, and this was a partial box I had open, so we'll start with that. This is a primer flip tray, kind of one of the unique tools for reloading, where you pour the primers out, and the little ribs on this tray kind of help you turn the primers all facing the same way. I want them facing the opposite way of where they are now. We'll put the lid on tightly, flip them over. Sorry about the head glowing in your face. And we'll pick up all these primers in the primer pickup tube. So I'm going to do this as fast as I can for the video here. And you know what? I'll come back in a minute, so you don't have to watch all of this. Next, we take the same primer pickup tube. We had it facing this direction. We will invert it. The little pin here keeps the primers from falling out. I like to use this rod to make sure they flow properly. We pull this and it loads the primer tube on the press, and it will automatically feed the primers with each pull of this lever over here. I have some more setup to do. I'll be back in a minute. Next step, I'm going to walk in front of the camera, sorry. Next step, we're going to add powder. This is the powder I've been using. It's an Accurate 2460. And I've also marked my powder, the holder. Good terminology. That's what I've been using previously. And I like to kind of remind myself in case I get confused in the middle and have to reload and refill. I know what it is I've been using. I have a lot of notes pre-taken while you were anxiously awaiting this little short video. I've reconsulted one last time my loading manual to confirm the information I have ready to go is all correct. And so we're going to pause again. See. Okay. We're going to load some 223. I have done a little bit of practice and what do you want to call it, rehearsing, to try to keep the pain down for you. So what you missed was the creation of my first test bullet. During that process, we'll just go through this a little bit. We inserted the first case. We add the primer, this step here. Now there's a primer. It started without one. Sorry, I'm not good at showing all this. We rotate. We operate the press up. Let it set to give the powder time to fall. Give a visual check. The powder's there. We rotate. Oh, on the last step, I removed the case, took it across the bench to my scale, and confirmed that I'm still where I want to be on the amount of powder, down to like 1/10 of a grain. Which a grain, I'd have to look it up for you, how many ounces. And when I did that, I had a little mistake, and that's part of why you try to rehearse this. So while I was doing all the trimming on that machine, some of the brass had gotten into the weight tray right here that sits and holds the powder. It sits on the scale. As I was pouring the powder out of the brass, I noticed there were brass flakes, little pieces of metal, sitting in there. So I had to throw that whole batch out because we don't want to weigh it and have that be part of our equation. And more importantly, we don't want to shoot that down the barrel of our firearm. So confirmed several times that we're on, and we'll do it one more time. So I don't know if all of this will be in frame. I'll remove this momentarily, bring it across, pour it in, make sure it all gets out. I don't think you can see the scale from there. I weigh it very carefully. I'm right where I want to be. Bring it back, pour it in the cartridge case. Make sure it all gets inside. Remove all this. And remember, this is just the setting up. We're not going to do this for every load. Now we can add the projectile. These are 55 grain, just solid point. Run the press up. On the first one, we removed the case one more time, took the calipers, measured the overall length, right where I want it, put it back, rotate, and over here we give a slight crimp, which I don't think I'm getting. I don't feel anything. Rotate again, it drops another completed piece of brass. Now we're ready to do production. Add a case. Seat primer. I kind of like to check and make sure it's seated well. Rotate. Add a case. Again, see, no primer. See, I'm getting out of sequence. Sorry. Add powder. I added powder twice. These are the mistakes you make if you're just trying to go too fast. That wouldn't be good, and I made a mess all over my machine. So I'm going to take you guys back off. Sorry for all this pain. Okay, we're going to try that again. So my cleanup tool of choice is just a cheap 50-cent paintbrush. I have air cans, you know, compressed air available, but I try not to blow gunpowder all over the room. So I ran the brass case, filled it with powder once, dumped it back in just to make sure everything's clear and back. So we're going to run the powder. We're going to wait. Let the powder fill all the way. Now we're going to grab that case, set it here, install the primer, just like we did on this other one. We're going to move to the next station. We're going to add the cartridge, the projectile. Set it up on there carefully. That'll straighten it. We just did 2 operations at once there. Now I can put another empty case here, add a primer. I like to check like we said. Did good. Rotate. Add the bullet. Dump the powder. It seats the bullet to the proper depth. Crimps on this side. New case. Install primer. Look, they're progressively now on a progressive press. Every time I pull this lever, we're completing one cartridge. So we're going to add another bullet. When we pull the lever, it seats that bullet, crimps the one before, adds the powder, install primer. Basically just keep going like this until we run out of something. We'll run out of bullets, we'll run out of primers. It'll be primers first today. Run out of energy or time. Once you get in a rhythm, which obviously I am not in yet, you can really make a lot of ammunition in a hurry. But you have to take into consideration all that time, probably 3 or 4 hours total time spent getting all this brass ready for this point in the little project. Okay, now I keep getting out of sequence here, and I'm still putting powder from our spill somewhere, and it's actually made a small dent in this primer. So I might have to take this apart better and clean it. All I did was kind of sweep. We're going to rotate. We'll do one more for you. And there you go. One more bullet ready to go shooting at the range. Got out of order there. We'll have to clean that off. But no harm done. Okay, just wanted to show you kind of the rhythm. One more thing I forgot to show you, and these are the completed rounds. I did these all total, including all that slow startup period. I figure there's 25 or 30 rounds in there. Probably 10 minutes. Not counting that cleanup moment that we had because of my mistake. Before part of that rehearsal I mentioned to you, and I did the sample round. This is a case checker, and I can drop that in there. The round sits down flush, and more importantly, well, just as importantly, even if I push down on it, it drops out really easy. So this kind of just checks that it's going to work well in the chamber of the firearm. I just thought I would show you that. It's just a way to check your work before you get out to the range.